Hello, hello, hello. How's everyone doing today? Today we're doing something a little different. We're going to be doing a abortion debate. Per David's wanted this to happen, and my name's Issa, joined here by David, and then the guest is Timothy Joseph, right?
Yes.
And these two kind of had it out on Twitter, and I figure, well, actually, I didn't figure. I really didn't know this was happening until David told me last week. These two are going to have it out here today, and I'm going to be kind of playing ref, so you ain't going to hear much from me, but I think these two would take it away. So it's all you, David.
Hey, everyone. So me and Tim, for a little bit of background, got into it about abortion. I think now it's been about 9 days, and we first wanted to talk about it, I think, last week, and scheduling conflicts kind of got in the way. We had a few minutes to talk about this before the show, but the question kind of that's going to be going back and forth, they'll keep going back to, is abortion a moral good? So I would, I guess, you want me to start off first?
Yeah, go away.
All right, so I would kind of begin by saying that this discussion has already been had. It was had at length in the court systems, along with Roe v. Wade. We know the statistics on what happens when women aren't allowed to have abortions. I mean, hell, because of the Hyde Amendment, we have about, over the last 40 years, about 1.1 million children that were unwanted, that were brought into the world to parents that didn't want them because we don't federally fund abortion. So, like I said, I mean, I think that this discussion's already been hashed out. I think we legally right now through the U.S. Code, Section 8, understand a person to be someone that is born. A fetus is not something that has rights. And I mean, the other part of this too is how many like women have died? Would you guess over the last 40 years from legal abortion?
You're asking me this?
Yes, I'm asking you.
Okay, I thought it was a rhetorical. I don't know the numbers. That's not something I researched, but
Okay.
I'm assuming it's fairly small because otherwise it would be a very risky procedure. People wouldn't do it. Although I do know multiple abortions increase the risk of problems not only with future abortions but with future pregnancies.
Yeah,
and the overall health of the mother.
So that number is 423 dead between the years of 1973 and 2011. Would you like to make another guess of the amount of women, and we don't even have full reported statistics on this, but a likely amount of women dead from 1901 to 1964 because of complications during abortions?
Yeah, it's probably much higher, but I addressed this in the Twitter. But
make a guess.
I'm going to guess. So you said it was around 400, so let's say around 10,000.
You've undershot that number by about 75%. It's about 40,000 women.
Okay.
Over 63 years. So, I mean, already, number one, we have cut down to about 1% the amount of women that are dying in abortions, making it legal. And so if we understand that fetuses don't have rights, if we understand that a fetus at 8 weeks is less important than a woman who is 30, then we've already done a moral good by making abortion legal. Is that understandable?
Yes. So that's an understandable position. The only counter argument to that is, are fetuses humans or not? Do they have rights? If they do have rights, then the atrocity on their end is much higher. When you're talking about 600 to 700,000 a year, not within a several decade period.
Correct. And Guttmacher even has that number higher. Granted, they don't really assist PP anymore, but they claim around 900,000 to 1 million a year.
Yeah. So I'm going with the lower numbers.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. I don't really think so. This is already a thing though. So legally, right now, fetuses don't have rights.
I think it's kind of funny that you started off that you agreed that it would be moral, and then everything that you've talked about so far has been the legal definition of abortion and what constitutes murder based on legality. When you're arguing morality, the only moral argument I've heard from you is that mothers die, but then you can counter that with the moral argument that if fetuses have rights, then a lot more of them are dying.
But why should a fetus have rights?
Well, we got to start off with knowing what it. So I'm not going to argue about all the rest of the rights because, like I said, I'm an anarcho-capitalist, so the NAP and all that sort of thing comes into play. But we need to set a ground rule on what is the right to life. So do you agree that the right to life exists?
Are we saying like constitutionally speaking? Are we talking like overall philosophy, or
this would be a natural right? And so, like the Declaration of Independence declared that these were unalienable. They are inherent in being alive. Is the right to life, or I guess being alive and being human.
I mean, I guess it sounds like something that's nice. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't really. If it doesn't have any, there's no practice in reality.
Do you have the right to life?
Well, is my life? So, I mean, what do you mean by that? So, is my life protected by federal law?
Can someone end your life without your permission?
Can someone kill me without my permission? Well, they can. They'll get punished for it.
Yeah. Okay. They would be punished for it because it's morally wrong to do, or it's just because it's illegal. So if we legalized murder, if we legalized the killing of other people, would it still be okay for them to come over and just kill you, or to have you come over and kill them? Would that be morally acceptable, even if it was legal? Like the purge.
We understand why murder is illegal. It's a common sense law.
Again, not arguing legality, because I said if it was legal.
Well, so okay, so going back to the morality of why we have laws in the first place. So a law is kind of a very easy way to sum up something that is common sense and tie it into a punishment. So going back to when we were, tribalistic beings in little nomadic hordes all around the place, we learned really fast that, hey, when you kill someone else, they're going to come back and kill you. So maybe we should have this law thing in play. I mean,
yeah. They won't come back and kill you, but their loved ones, their families, their brother are gonna.
Yeah, same thing.
Same thing never-ending war.
Yeah, same thing with stealing. Same thing with lying. I mean, we understand that these have ending negative consequences to ourselves.
Yeah, and mostly it's
like we follow the law.
I don't want my life to end, and you are the same as me, except for you're obviously a different person. But you're still a person and I'm a person. So I don't want my life to end. I should assume that you also don't want your life to end.
Correct.
So if I end your life, that's going to cause negative consequences to everyone that you know and everyone you care about. And if you end my life, same thing's going to happen. So we have to understand that we're in the same, we are essentially the same. I mean, we're not the same exactly, but we have that same, we are both equally human. And so those same feelings are, of not wanting to die are, both of us share that.
Okay, so are you asking, do animals, just in general, want to live, want to proceed forward? Yes, I absolutely. I mean, if you're gonna go to the philosophy of that, I mean, how do you think life got here? It's pretty amazing. So, I mean, things don't want to die, obviously.
Yeah, that's a natural response. Although the difference would be animals are based on instinct, whereas humans have the ability to conceptualize things. We can think about the abstract, whereas animals haven't been able to prove that. So I think our consciousness is separate than what we would consider an animal's consciousness. So humans, humans differ.
There's a lot of discussion going into free will. I mean, I don't think it's been decided either way, but I mean, we don't need to bring that up.
If we need to argue about free will, this is not going to take an hour.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We might want to skip right past that one.
The idea is, I have the right to life. You have the right to life, or to not be murdered. I guess I should say you have the right to not be murdered. Right?
Okay.
That should be. Can we agree on that?
Sure. I mean,
okay.
I don't really have the right to not be murdered, because every single time there's a murder going on, that would mean that person didn't really have that right.
You have that right. The person committing the murder would be violating that right, and that's why punishment for that action is
okay. I can agree. I can agree with that. Sure. It's just the whole thing is that rights seem absolutely abstract in the first place.
When you're talking about morality, it's should consequences occur for that? So if I go and take your car without your permission, if that was morally acceptable, there's nothing you could do to retaliate except for, I guess, take it back whenever whenever I'm sleeping or something along those lines. The morality is who actually owns the car. That's part of the determining is it. So if it's your car and not mine, if I come and take it from you, then morally I am wrong. And therefore either you or anyone else can come and reclaim that vehicle in your name. But I can't say, hey, you know what, that was my car because I took it from you and so then it became mine. Everyone could see that I would be morally in the wrong there. Or at least that should be the general stance.
Yes, I can agree with that.
So that's where morals are different, because if you go against morality, then society or the person who was offended can come back and do the same, but they won't have negative consequences. So it kind of like when we were talking about the whole, if I kill you and then your family comes and kills me and then my family comes and kills you, what stops that is the morality. Is if I come and kill you, but I have no justification for doing that, then your family or law enforcement could come and end my life, but there's no retaliation for them because they were acting to justify a situation, to rectify a wrong. Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
So why is murder? I mean, I think we can go into this a little bit.
Yeah, because that did come up in the Twitter, and the main argument saying, well, so murder is illegal.
No. Well, murder is the unlawful termination of a life of a human being. So, yes. and because in all reality, you threw around a lot of buzzwords, and I think that there is this. I'm not going to kind of accuse you of it, but I will say other people do, of trying to juxtapose from talking about actual terminology, actual definitions, and instead you start talking about murdering babies, even though there's no babies being murdered. I mean, if you want to have the discussion of whether or not other stuff is wrong, but we do understand that the word baby has a definition. We understand that murder has a definition. So murder is the unlawful termination of the life of a human being. So number one, human beings, fetuses are not categorized in the dictionary as a human being. And they're not classified legally.
Why is there a classification? Sorry, I'll let you continue. Yeah.
Well,
so
why is there a classification
for a human embryo as opposed to another type of embryo? Wouldn't it just be an embryo or a clump of cells instead of human embryo? Because that's a specific embryo, implying that it's going to be a human, not just it's like a chicken embryo. Well, you can go ahead and kill that, and that doesn't even come close to murder.
Yes, well, because we understand that executing something with sentience, executing something with, or terminating something with sentience, is a much higher crime in the eyes of subjective morality than obviously eating a Cornish game hen. We understand the difference. So I mean, when you start talking to something that you're executing something at 8 weeks, you're executing something at 12 weeks. That's not something with personhood. I mean, yeah. Can you grasp that? I mean, that person.
Okay, we need to define personhood then. What qualifies personhood? So, is a infant like 0 months just straight out of the mother? Is that a person?
No, the funny part is you might actually get me in a gotcha here, because I don't think that newborn babies are what's the word? Conceptually adept yet. Like I don't even think they're yet. But the thing is that in the past,
self-aware.
Yeah. The thing is, in the past, that is legally where we drew the line, and I think it's a fine line to have drawn. I'm not in favor of infanticide or anything like that. So, I mean, this is what I said. You might have got me in a gotcha, because, I mean, realistically, I mean, you're hitting kids at like a year that still have like developmental issues, and we're seeing that like on a large spectrum. So,
well, you can also argue that even adults with mental disabilities aren't fully self-aware, so they wouldn't qualify either. So you could go around hitting them with hammers, and according to your definition of personhood, that wouldn't be a problem.
Well, if you in that kind of line though, we do that already. So when we have people that are on life support, right? We pull the plug knowing that they're going to die, correct?
Yes, that does happen, although normally they are determined mentally brain dead when that happens, or they become, or because they're so dependent on the machine that it's not right to keep them because all they're doing is suffering or something along those lines. So there is a justification for that is not the same thing as, well, they're just mentally incompetent. So,
well, at 8 weeks, would you categorize a fetus as having about the same mental acuity as that person who's a vegetable?
Well, they have a central nervous system and they can feel pain about 8 weeks in. That's so.
I need a citation on that.
Possibly.
Because,
if you go, I do have that pulled up. So it is babycenter.com/fetal-development-week-by-week.
you can literally just throw it in the side Google Hangout.
Okay, I can just send you the link.
Yep, there's a little side group chat thing.
Did not realize that. All right.
Wow, you guys this is getting fun. I'm enjoying myself.
Yeah, sorry about that. This is my first
No,
time.
it's fine.
So,
There
we go. So that's the link where it breaks down the week-by-week development of a fetus, and it describes the fetal, the nervous system of the baby. I have another link related to that.
Is there any actual resource linked on this?
So that one's a little more questionable, but so I'm not quite sure.
So
how legitimate that one, the second one is. The first one is fairly legitimate.
Here.
You're saying that they need to cite sources on that as well?
Yeah, you can just link them. Feel free to link it. Everything here gives.
Well, they provide.
real fast. I just put the link in the side chat for everyone to see if they want to see. So it's out there.
So that's where I'm pulling my information from. If that is completely incorrect, I would assume that you would need to provide a counter source proving that is not the case.
Yes.
Because I believe both of those websites do cite their sources.
The first one didn't, but there we go. Second one.
Wait, let me screen share it real fast. How about that?
Or, well, I guess my question is how is that itself not a source?
No, because I was going to say, there we go. No. The second one you did, Abortion Facts does. All right. Fetuses can feel pain. All right, here we go. First of all, and so the other thing, too, I'd say is, what does feeling pain have to deal with self-awareness?
I wasn't talking about self-awareness. If you're talking about someone who is in a coma or is on life support, generally their brain doesn't show the same kind of functionality. So it would be the same kind of state, whereas their central nervous system is running, with quotes around it, but it's not getting to the brain, or it's not responding the same way. This would be very similar to the actual fetus inside the womb at about 8 weeks. So you're arguing for the self-aware determines personhood. That was not my case. That was your case.
Yeah, no, okay. The other thing, too, just as a side note, the reference number 7 of fetuses can feel pain is a dead link, just so you know.
Okay. Wasn't my site, but all right.
Yeah, the Abortion Facts, the references that you linked, your second page when you go down to references, the fetuses can feel pain, the actual link max.mc.net, that is a dead link. It does not work.
Okay.
Can I jump in real fast?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
All right, let me jump in real fast. So let me ask you this, not to be off topic here. So I know people bring this up, but what happens if a woman is raped? Should she still have the baby? I wonder. I know maybe this is going to be brought up.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Well, I say yes. And in fact, most women who are raped do agree with that.
Why?
About 70% of them actually go through
So
with the
okay, no, I get you. So if another woman is raped and agrees with it, does that mean we make laws towards the other woman who is raped and doesn't want it, doesn't want the baby? Because
well, most laws do actually account for that, and actually that was the whole reason Roe v. Wade went to the Supreme Court, is because abortion was legal in the state of Texas, but only for cases of rape. And Roe went and tried to get an abortion claiming rape, but there was no police report of a rape, and there was no actual rape that occurred. And actually, according to her own statement, the rape didn't happen, and that's why she couldn't prove it. And so then
you're talking about one incident, one person.
Yeah, I'm saying that's okay. Yeah, that is I guess an anecdote as opposed to to the actual case.
I do want to respond real quick.
So I was the point I was making was that most states that is legal for rape abortions. Okay.
And it should remain so. Okay, no, so I would go back to talking about fetal pain. So the Journal of the American Medical Association has conducted a few studies into this, and they start talking about these fiber cortexes that develop around 23 to 30 weeks of gestational age. And also, there's another paper linked in here that's pretty much in all peer-reviewed double-blind periodicals in the United States, consensus is that fetal pain does not develop until about the 26-week mark.
Yeah, and that's generally the current consensus. My objection to that is, if they can't feel pain, then why does their heart rate increase, and why all of the general biometric indicators of pain or a reaction to something occur within the 8-week? And there's also a video, I'm sure you've seen this, the silent scream, where it's a 12-week abortion, in which case the fetus is trying to swim away from the nozzle that is invading the womb. So it senses its environment, it senses the danger, and I can't claim it will feel pain, but it knows to go away from the thing that's trying to harm it.
Well, I mean, bacteria does that.
But bacteria is not a human. And
I agree.
This came up during Twitter as well.
It does. It did. No, but I'm just saying, so, I mean, we're going to this idea of what actually determines whether or not you should have rights, right? I mean, because we're kind of going back to this whole fetal right thing.
Yes. And
I said personhood.
Yes.
And then you responded to this to bring up fetal pain. But if fetal pain is not your reason for why they should have rights, then what is the reason why fetuses should have rights?
I'm claiming that they are persons, and that being self-aware is not actually a part of that. Being self-aware is not a requirement for being a person.
So we need to change the definition of personhood as well?
As far as I know, that's not a part of the personhood. But I guess I will have to pull up that definition.
I mean, I've gone through...
a human being regarded as an individual. I see no definition that says that it requires self-awareness.
The state or fact being an individual or having human characteristics and feelings.
Yeah, I don't see how any of that would not be able to be applied to a human embryo or a fetus.
So they have feelings. Fetuses have feelings?
They have a central nervous system. We don't know what they are. And feelings can be sensory. They can also be emotions. So I'm not sure what your definition. If it's purely emotions, well, there's no way to determine if a infant or an embryo has them. You could even say that about, a 2-month-old or something along those lines, because they have no way of actually expressing an emotion. But if you're talking about feelings as in sensing their environment, in which case it can be clearly proven that even at 8 weeks that they can sense the environment around them.
I'm gonna need a source on that they can sense the environment around them at 8 weeks.
Oh, it's like
I guess sense. You talked about silent scream, which, just so you know, I have not seen, but I do know that a lot of the stuff in there has been debunked. But I do know I haven't watched it myself. But
I'm not talking about the documentary itself. I'm talking about the ultrasound that did occur.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I want to show something quick. Let me share screen.
So unless you're saying that ultrasound was faked, or what
That's
they're
what I'm saying.
describing isn't real.
I'm saying I wouldn't know. So I'm saying
Okay.
this right here, saying that this thing is sensing its environment.
It has a central nervous system. It has brains. It has nerves that go throughout its limbs, and it can detect when it's prodded or poked.
Okay.
So even at 8 weeks, it's even more pronounced. I don't
even see limbs in that thing. Maybe you're better at looking at things than me.
It has little appendages that are kind of fin-like, and a tail at that point.
It looks like a little squid.
So appearance. So you're going on appearance determines.
No. I'm not going on appearance. So
that's what it sounded like to me.
Oh, you start talking about how it has things going to its appendages, and I don't even see appendages. So, I mean, I guess sure we are going on to a certain point since you're saying this thing has nerve endings in its hands, and I don't see any hands.
Okay, so and if you're going to completely throw out the first link I sent you about the stages of fetal development with the images of about
there's no resources to it, and to be fairly honest, something called Baby Center is going to have a bias, right? Because let's actually going back to
all right. So then any information from that is not usable. Okay.
No. Right here, no. We're gonna do.
That's what happens if it's not citable. It's not a valid source, then you can't use anything from it. That's okay.
What I'm saying is that if we go on Baby Center, this is why I want to discuss biases here, because if we look at this right here, can you see this? And I see a baby. Like when you see this, like, can I compare this to what a baby looks like when it's out of the womb? Absolutely. And I think that's done intentionally. When you look at that, I'm saying that there is a clear bias in just the photography of this.
Go back to
to this. Stage 21. That's at week 8. Can you not understand that there is a bias there? An inherent bias in just how they did the photography of that.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Okay.
Can you go back to the other picture? So is that a artist depiction, or is that like from the ultrasound, or what are those images exactly? Are those?
To be quite honest, I just went to an embryology page. Probably look down and get to it. Here we go. They are diffusion tensor magnetic. It's MRIs.
Yeah. So then you're not going to get a clear picture anyway. So that's why they're.
Hold on. Are we seeing this?
No.
Is this what's there?
Not seeing that.
Is that what's there?
I would say if you got a camera, it'd probably be something in between the two.
Okay.
Although putting a camera inside there would probably cause development. There's issues with that. But if you're talking about MRI, even an MRI of a brain scan does show dark spots. You can't see the whole brain. Does the MRI of a brain scan look the same way as an actual human brain outside of the skull? No, it does not.
All right, so let's go. Okay, so fetal pain. I mean, okay, so what classifies something as a person then? So, because the only thing I've heard from you is that pain is not involved, personhood is not involved. So it's a genetic argument for you?
I didn't say personhood was not involved. I said being self-aware is not involved.
Correct. So I'm saying, and you're saying that, like, but you don't even support abortion at like 2 weeks, right?
No, I say the human becomes a separate entity at conception. Because you've got the sperm from the male and the egg from the female. They both combine and they turn into a brand new entity, a brand new individual, and a brand new individual that will become a human. So that means I think they should be classified as a person based on that definition, where a human being regarded as an individual, because once those two cells come together, they form a brand new DNA strand. Because the mother can have a boy, in which case the new embryo now has a separate gender, can have a different blood type, has a distinct DNA code that makes it, it's not like a cancer cell where there is some DNA that is different. No, it's at least 50% of its DNA is different from the mother, so it's not a part of the mother's body. It is a separate growing entity that will be a human, so therefore it should be classified as a person because it is a human being regarded as an individual. Now, right now, you are not regarding it as a human or as an individual, and that's where the problem is.
So, but
that's the entire point of the argument.
Let me ask this, but you're saying will be a human being. As of right now, it isn't a human being.
Yeah.
Will be a human being by your definition. So
maybe.
So, but it as a, it as a cell is a human being.
Yes.
Okay.
I would say there's no difference between that and a full-grown adult, because if you compare a full-grown adult to an infant, the difference between an infant and the age of 24, when that's generally when the human brain stops developing, and pretty much that's the complete adult cycle. It's generally considered around 24, because it's from age 1 to about 21 is when all physical growth stops, and then the brain develops until about age 24, and that's general cutoff. But the difference between an infant at age 1 second compared to a 24-year-old, the difference is vast. It's way more different than a 0 second old zygote to a 9-month-old baby that is outside of the womb.
So, okay, I am not conceding this point to you, but I do want to go into what would happen if what you're saying became law.
Okay.
So a woman gets fertilized, goes to okay. So number one, we would have to change a lot of birth control.
Yes. Because
we understand that some birth control, thin uterine wall, and they are therefore abortifacients, if you want to think of it about that way, because that fertilized egg never actually gets to latch on to anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just falls out. So everyone who is taking pretty much hormone-based birth control, at least the vast majority of the hormone-based ones right now, would be murderers under this new legal framework.
Yes, which is why those substances and that kind of treatment for this would be kind of banned.
Okay. So moving on. So Plan B would obviously be illegal.
So all of that would be thrown out, leaving contraception being condoms and vasectomies. And I said this in Twitter. A vasectomy is just as effective as the birth control pill. The male can do it. It's way less invasive than an abortion. It's done prior to the pregnancy, so there's no actual fertilization. And it has a 97%, so it's got a 97% success rate. So why would that not be the ideal alternative for the people who can't do the abstinence? Like, I don't know why someone would, there's reasons to take birth control other than just preventing pregnancies. There's, it helps with menstrual cycles and things like that. So that may be a different scenario where these pills would be allowed because of those other effects. But in the case of contraception, I think vasectomy is the way to go.
So having had a vasectomy, I can speak to a few things. What if it is a married couple and they don't want kids yet? Are they just supposed to abstain from sex?
Or he can get a vasectomy and he can store his sample in the sperm bank before the vasectomy procedure happens. So he still has his sample in case he wants children in the future.
Okay, so number one, we are talking about undue expenses from people. And then, I mean, so you're storing things.
Yeah.
I mean, okay.
If your goal is to not get pregnant, there's going to be expenses. There's going to be some kind of thing that you have to do. That does not, because it's slightly more expensive than going and having sex and just taking a pill, is not a valid argument for that abortion should be legal because vasectomies is kind of inconvenient, kind of expensive.
We're way past just talking about abortion though. We're starting to talk about birth control.
Yeah.
We are starting to go into a land where we are going to have
your justification for those things is it's expensive to get a vasectomy. That is a one-time procedure that is 97% successful, is not a monthly prescription. It is not an abortion that can happen multiple times. That has to happen for each pregnancy because a vasectomy eliminates all future pregnancies. Well,
yeah,
I mean, it doesn't eliminate.
Now, what about this? So they finally decide that they want to have kids, right?
Yes.
What's the rates look like for reversals? Because I know when I got it, it was about 20% of the time that you can't go back.
Yeah. So if the reversal cannot succeed, well, then you've got your samples saved, and there's always in vitro. In vitro happens with regular couples that without the vasectomy that have functioning organs, but
wouldn't in vitro go away as well in this world?
Why? Because it's encouraging pregnancy.
No, because in vitro processes, you normally have a large amount of fertilized eggs that are thrown away. That would be murder on a grand scale.
Huh. Yeah, because normally it's about 7 or 8 eggs that are put in at a time. Yep. Had not considered that. Well, so then the process would be changed to just 1 at a time instead of 7 at a time.
One at a time at a rate of about, I think, $15,000 on average in America for IVF.
Yeah, that's a bit expensive.
Yeah. So I mean, when we start talking about undue expenses, that seems high.
Well, so now you're trying to brand morality as an expense issue. I was just trying to provide an alternative to abortion because I think abortion is immoral. But the price should not come into a factor when you're talking about morality, because that's like saying the price of saving one person is $1 million. Oh, not worth it. Just let that person die. And you're like, that's not an immoral argument. That's a physical argument.
I was going to say insurance companies, I guess, go through that moral argument every day. But okay, so moving on forward. So a woman gets pregnant, does not know she is pregnant. She has a couple drinks and has a spontaneous abortion. She gets into a hot tub, has a spontaneous abortion. Should she be then charged with like negligent manslaughter? I mean, where do we go there? I mean, it's her negligence led to the death of a person in this new legal framework.
Yeah, technically that would be true. I think that would be a pretty big exception for this because you don't know what you don't know. Like, so you shouldn't be able to try someone for not knowing what they don't know. But in the case of like outright murder where you didn't intend to murder someone, it still charges manslaughter, but that's not because someone didn't know that murder was illegal.
No, you can be charged with negligent manslaughter for not knowing that your actions led to the termination of something.
But you would still know that murder was wrong, but you just didn't expect that person to die. But in which case,
it's not murder; it's negligent manslaughter.
Yeah, sorry. I guess technically it's negligent manslaughter. So you didn't know that negligent manslaughter was going to happen, but you still get tried for it. But in the case of the mother, you wouldn't know that was going to happen.
Okay, so what if a mother is 24 weeks pregnant, falls down the stairs, has a spontaneous abortion? Is that some sort of reckless endangerment? Because if a mother killed her child while going down the stairs, there would be an investigation. There absolutely would be. I know a woman who had a child die, and there was absolutely an investigation that took about 6 months of her life away. So, I mean, are we going to do this for every single spontaneous abortion that occurs in the U.S.?
How many spontaneous abortions happen because someone fell down the stairs?
Oh, I mean, in all reality, spontaneous abortion rates are about 20% for pregnancies. So, I mean, we have like another 1.5 million kids added to the rolls.
And are all of them because of the mother's actions, or are they all just a natural process? And I guess the case is, where would you draw the line is if the mother goes into the hospital and reports it and the doctor just says, oh, yep, that's perfectly natural, that's normal, and then the police investigate still, or the line would be drawn at the doctor thinks something is up, like this person intentionally went through with the abortion, in which case then I guess it's slightly, or maybe they did something on accident that they knew they shouldn't have done. I'm not quite sure of where that would fall legally, but it seems to me that you wouldn't want a outright criminal investigation for every one of them. It would only be if there's a reason to suspect something is wrong. It's like you don't there's no criminal investigation every time someone dies, because some people just die of old age. Some people die for legitimate reasons, so it's not investigated as if it was murder.
Yeah, but that's not decided by the doctor. That's decided by the police. So the police would have to come to a determination of whether or not to investigate every single spontaneous abortion that occurred in the United States. Otherwise,
well, they would go to the doctor and then they would ballot.
Well, but the doctor does not have the legal framework to be able to come to that conclusion or not. I mean, I guess you could change the law and give that to him to have some sort of stopgap, so that we're not forcing like 1 in 4 people to be a police officer.
No. What happens when someone dies on the operating table? There is a police report filed because somebody died.
Yes.
In which case, how would that be different from this?
Oh,
the doctor doesn't actually determine whether the person was murdered or not. The police officer decide that based on the report.
Yes, the police officer decides whether or not to investigate. Right. So
how would this be any different?
So that's what I'm saying. So the police would have to decide every single time a spontaneous abortion occurred in the U.S. And to not report that you had a spontaneous abortion to your doctor or to the police would be obstruction of justice.
Yeah, and how would that be any different from a person actually dying and that being reported to the police or not through the hospital?
Oh, it's because you're adding 300,000 quote unquote people to this cycle, which, think about this, we only have about 8,000 murders in the US. I think investigative deaths, I think we have near about 80,000. So we're going to quadruple.
No, you're talking about the number that are investigated as opposed to the number that are reported.
No. So we have about 8,000 murders a year, and deaths that lead to investigation, it's about I think it's 80,000.
No.
Give or take a few numbers. Yes.
Again, you said leads to investigation. When you're talking about a miscarriage or something like that, not all of those would be investigated. Not all spontaneous. Sorry.
It's all gonna have to go through a process, though.
Yeah, but that already happens for however many people die in the United States a year, which is in the millions. So that the process of saying this person died legitimate, this person's life ended legitimately already happens. There's already a report. The police officer doesn't investigate every one of those. They only investigate the ones that seem questionable.
Yes, but they have to make
every one of these.
Correct, but I'm saying they still have to come. I mean, this seems like a really non-issue. I'm just okay. So moving forward, because it seems like you're fine with this. You are completely fine with the ramifications of this. Outside of maybe in vitro, you have to rethink about.
Yeah, the in vitro, it might be done at 1-to-1 because the idea is to maximize life. So if it's possible that you're eliminating all these extra lives for no good reason, you might have to do it 1-to-1.
Okay. So going back to this, okay. So what is morality to you?
Well, that was the other thing, is because you mentioned earlier that morality was subjective, in which case I think it can't be subjective. It has to be universal. There has to be a standard of morality, and our understanding of that standard may change over time. But we need that standard to be applied across to every human being on the planet. Otherwise, I could not judge Hitler as being immoral because he was moral according to his subjective morality, but not to my subjective morality. I couldn't judge a murderer as doing something immoral because his moral code may think that, well, I didn't kill a person, I killed a group of cells that was just walking and breathing and buying a car. So since that kind of subjective morality is not a good way to build society, there has to be an objective, this is good, this is evil. Well,
that's, thankfully, your morality is not what guides society. Morality is a societal construct that is based upon an overarching nebulous kind of feel of how everyone thinks is right and wrong.
Morality should be treated more like science, where this is the state of things. We're trying to better understand the state of things, but it's not like because more people agree with this scientific finding that suddenly the way the world works changes. Morality has to be as objective as time.
So is eating dogs okay?
I don't know. I would say sure, why not? I don't think that's a moral issue.
Well, I mean, I would say in American society, we would probably all say that if we saw someone eating a dog, we would think that they were somewhat morally bankrupt. That is just a relative fact.
They're violating social norms, but that's not morality.
I would argue that is exactly pretty much what morality is.
Morality should be the distinction between good and evil. At least that's my understanding. If I'm way off on that.
No.
You're saying that it's
let me step in real fast. Why are we basing laws off morality so much? Why do you want that to happen?
Because that's any law that's based not on morality is an arbitrary law. It's law just to make people feel good or something along those lines, or a law can be enacted
laws just to make people feel
actually
good.
Against morality. So
okay.
And that's my objection to many laws, that they actually violate morality, but they're enacted anyway.
So, okay, I'll go this then. Why does the USDA exist?
For various reasons, although it's mostly to supposedly protect us.
Okay, now that's an arbitrary law, right?
Yes and no. There is a reason for an institution like that, but there's no reason for it to be federally mandated and for the standards of it to be what they are.
Totally agree, guys. If you're in Kentucky, you can totally eat your turkey at 155 degrees. Please do so. Yeah,
that you deal with the consequences of that. If you choose to do something, like if you can choose to drink bleach right now. There's no USDA objection saying you can't bleach. You can't sell people bleach because they might drink it. No, they can drink bleach and die because they're stupid. So there are accepted understandings of these things are dangerous, so you shouldn't do them, as opposed to these things are dangerous and you shouldn't do them, so they're illegal. So if you do them, then you go to jail or you get fined.
Okay. Going back to the whole fetus thing. So it's a person in this world, right? Like in this new.
My understanding of it, because well, I guess we never really satisfied that because you never told me if an infant was a person or not.
I mean, for legal purposes, that's already established, and I see no reason to combat against it.
Okay, and then if an infant is a person, what is the main difference between an infant and a fetus and an embryo, and an embryo and a zygote? What are the drastic difference that would deny that being personhood, but it's granted to it magically when it becomes an infant?
Oh, because under the legal framework, you're a baby when you're born.
So that's legal framework as opposed to moral framework.
Correct. So no, but I
thought we agreed at the beginning this was supposed to be based on morals.
And I am. So under the principles of non-aggression, why is forcing that mother to carry that embryo, that zygote, that fetus, how is that moral?
Because it's the rights of the embryo and the zygote and the fetus versus the rights of the mother, in which case the right to life trumps the rights to, well, I guess, privacy and things like that.
The right, okay, so it can live all it wants. All the mother is doing is evacuating the host. I mean, if you really want to change, okay, is that my problem? Is that your problem?
That could be akin to murder, and actually,
why would it be akin to murder? You have a host in another person's living body. You are evicting that host. That host dies. How is that murder?
I think you're saying host incorrectly there. The host would be the mother.
It is. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying
You said you evicted the host.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry. No, the host evicts the fetus. I'm saying, how is that akin to murder? Even if a fetus was a person.
Would you consider it murder if you are in the middle of a blizzard and you throw someone outside into the cold and then lock the door and don't let them back in? Would that be grounds for murder? Would there be a legitimate murder trial for the person who kicked the other person out?
There's like no other house. I mean, this seems like a really weird thing.
Now, let's say we're in the Arctic. This is a research up in the Arctic, and somebody freezes outside because the other person kicked them out and locked the door.
Well, that person's pretty dumb for just staying there. They probably should have gone to their home.
They are in the Arctic. There's generally just the one facility where everybody's inside and there's room.
Oh, okay. So this person would already have intent for murder then, right?
The person who kicked the other one out? Yes.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be the same grounds?
Well, I mean,
because you know that the person
you do realize I have
going to die?
You do realize I have to like operate in cognitive dissonance land when we talk about these like hypotheticals, because we're stacking hypotheticals on hypotheticals. But well, because you're
okay. So how is this different from I'm on a boat, I kick you off the boat, I sail away?
Let me understand.
Is that not akin to murder?
You understand what you're saying here? So, me having my birth control and having a fertilized egg come out during my period is the same thing as me being in the Arctic, pushing a guy outside a door, knowing he can't get in anywhere else, and locking it. You really? I mean, that's a non sequitur. Can you understand that?
No. It's not a non sequitur because I'm saying that is a person. So assuming that they are both the embryo and a full grown adult are both persons, both equally people, because I have yet to hear where a person starts. So the only definition you've given me is the legal, in which case the legal definition for a slave was a black person in prior to the amendment. Man, I'm drawing a blank on this. Back in the 1800s, when black people were not considered people, they were considered slaves. Or even in World War II, where the Jews weren't considered humans, they were considered Jews, which is why it was okay for the Germans to gas them, and that was morally okay by law. Legally, it's not a good definition for when personhood starts.
No. Wait. Gassing Jews was not allowable by law.
It was by German law, otherwise they wouldn't be able to do it. The soldiers would not be.
If something is against the law, you can't do it. That's not how laws work.
Hmm? No,
you do realize that
it was legal for them to do in Germany. It was not legal for them to do based on the worldview. So the conventions, I guess, were not established. Man, trying to blank on that too. Year.
Okay, so we are once again though comparing a fertilized egg, which is literally nothing. If
you choose to classify it as literally nothing.
Dude, okay. Here, can you see it? Can you see it? The tide comes in, the tide comes out. You can't explain that. No, but
oh, come on.
You really can't. I mean, this is something that you have to get under a microscope.
So you're saying it's not a viable human because of its size?
No, not even. In fact,
that's what you just said. You said you need a microscope to see it, therefore it is not a human person. That was your argument. In which case, then I guess you also agree that midgets aren't people because they're small, or children aren't people because they're small.
Once again, you're literally comparing something that has no attributes to it yet.
So you're saying size is a determination of personhood, and at what size does personhood begin? Once the baby
not even. I already said that personhood is determined when you're born. I mean, I've already said that.
Yeah,
now we're just moving the goalposts like way far back, and I mean, you're asking me to acknowledge
it was for legal purposes. That's legally defined as being a human after birth. In which case, I said you can't base things off of legality because legality could be wrong, as it was proven wrong with slavery. And I guess you don't.
How is it proven wrong with slavery? We abolished slavery absolutely because it was wrong.
Yeah, but it was legal at the time. So people on your side would be arguing that slaves are not human and that it should remain legal.
Well, I mean, at a certain point,
essentially the case.
No, but do you understand how this can be flipped back? Because I can say that, hey, we weren't giving women autonomy to their bodies, and we were treating them like slaves to the state. But thankfully, Roe v. Wade, and we fixed that. Like, I mean, arguing from presuppositions of past legal pretenses, it seems like a really bad argument.
No. You're confusing. I'm arguing from the morality, saying you can't use the law as a basis for morality. You have to base the law on morality. You're arguing it. You're reversing it. You're saying you're arguing morality based on law as opposed to the law should be based on morality.
Okay, no. Here, I mean, if we really want to get into feelings, into fifis and stuff like that.
Oh, come on, man.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what this is, though. So, over the past 40 years, 1.1 million unwanted children because of the Hyde Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
These are women that wanted to have an abortion, did not want to have a child, could literally not afford it. What
then
do you think?
Why did they take the actions that would result in a child?
What,
like,
do you mean?
I have a car right now that is more expensive than it should be. Oh, but I guess, since it's now unwanted, you should try to, there should be a law that lets me ignore my loan and ignore all those things that I actually brought upon myself. So this is
I mean, thankfully that's why we have abortion.
Oh, so we should be able to allow this for other things too. Then not just abortion. We should be, it's like, hey, I made decisions that led to a bad situation. So, I took drugs and now I'm an addict, and so now the state should pay for my rehab. Is that the case? Is that what
I'm totally fine with that, actually. I mean, legalize drugs, tax them, and then use that to pay for rehab. Totally agree.
Okay, but somebody who's on drugs of their own accord, there's the downside to that is they get to charge us a bunch of money and to go to rehab. So I guess the downside would be the actual.
I thought it's not about money, though.
I
mean, I thought
it's the morality of whether. No. It's not the amount of money. It's the whether they should be able to charge us or not. So that we're not talking about the amount. I don't care if the amount is $1 or $1 million. The principle is they shouldn't be able to have somebody else pay for their mistakes.
Why not? We do that all the time.
Just because we do it doesn't mean it's morally correct.
Taking care of your society is not morally correct. Taking care of the weakest members of your society is not morally correct.
The weakest members of society forcing the rest of us to take care of them is not morally correct.
So Social Security is not morally correct to you, like SSDI.
No, Social Security is a big Ponzi scheme. It's a huge problem. If you want your retirement, you make it yourself. You either work for a company that offers a retirement that you're okay with, one that has a 401k or something like that. If you can't afford that, every bank has an IRA. You get a Roth IRA, you're fine. Do it yourself. Don't force other people to prepare for your future. Don't force other people to be responsible for your mistakes. That's like saying if I was drinking and I got into my car and I hit somebody, no, I'm not responsible for that. Somebody else has to go to jail for me.
No, we'd send you to jail.
What? Yeah, exactly, because I'm responsible for that. That's why you send me and not my brother in my stead.
Okay, so here's the thing.
So wait, hold up. So is nothing out of someone else's hands? So things can't just happen because of an accident and just bad luck? Things are always someone else's fault?
Mm-hmm.
So if something happens to where a person doesn't have insurance or loses his insurance, is that his fault?
Yes.
If it was an accident?
What do you mean?
Car accident?
How do you accidentally lose your insurance? I
don't know. I'm just saying. Okay, so
I didn't take steps.
Okay, yeah. If the guy loses his job and he can't pay for his insurance,
then why is he?
You can't always. Maybe the guy needs to find a job. You don't know. I mean, there's reasons why people are pushed to desperation to do things.
Yeah, I get that, but you're still responsible for every action you take in your life.
No.
If you're driving without insurance and you get into an accident, I don't care if it was your fault or not. You shouldn't have been on the road because you're driving without insurance. That's the whole purpose of insurance, is to finance your vehicle or the damage that you may cause. So if you don't have that, then you're not adequately preparing for what may happen.
So humans can't make mistakes, is what you're saying.
They can, but those mistakes shouldn't punish other people. They should only punish them.
Right. So would you be okay with like abortion insurance? Like women pay into a fund and then that money is used towards abortion?
No, because I don't agree with abortion on a moral standpoint. So I think abortion is wrong no matter how it gets paid for or however you get to it.
I know that was an attempt at humor, man. I'm trying to bring levity to the situation.
No, there is no levity in this situation.
Let's go to this.
I'm getting a little heated, but the concepts you're trying to get through. You're not arguing on a moral standpoint, and anytime I try to bring it back to moral, you bring something else. That's
no.
What I
okay,
said.
Here. I think it is extremely unfair to force women to carry pregnancies to term, especially understanding the demographics that these women are in. Especially understanding that 85%. No, 85% of women having abortions are unmarried. Most people that are having abortions, the majority of people having abortions already have one child. So there is overlap here. So most women that are having abortions already have one child and are not married and are about to have a second. Where are these people going to go? Number one, so societally, I think it's morally correct because who's going to end up paying for these kids anyway? They're going to start going on government rolls. Number two, these are women that are actually trying to look out for the lives of themselves and the children they already have. The actual human beings that are born already. 9%, so about a tenth of women that are getting abortions already have 3+ kids. 1 in 10 women that is getting an abortion already has 3+ kids. And
if they cared about the child or themselves, they would actually put themselves in a stable environment with a consistent partner that they wouldn't mind having additional kids with. And if that was the risk and it was all about, I don't want this child to have adverse conditions. Like I don't want him to enter a world where I can't provide for them. Then why did you take steps to create a child? Because that's what sex is for. It's sexual reproduction. There are other
because people make mistakes. But let me ask you this:
No. Sex is not just for those mistakes. That seems like very morally authoritarian.
So let me ask you this: so why are you so against abortion? What is your thing? Because from what I hear, so do you think the government force people to have insurance?
The government should not. People should get insurance on their own.
So what if someone can't afford? Okay. Insurance? So if someone can't afford insurance, do you care that person gets sick and they can't take care of themselves?
Wait, what?
If a person can,
yes, I
okay,
care.
Do you care? But clearly,
should I be morally and legally obligated to cover their health care? Because
so you don't want no responsibility in it, right? You want no responsibility in it. So why do you want the responsibility to tell a woman if she can have an abortion or not?
Let me clarify here. It's not that I don't want the responsibility. It's that I don't want the responsibility forced upon me. I give to charity. I do that all the time.
Why are you forcing your way on someone?
Voluntarily.
Okay. Esau, calm down. Do you happen to know the demographic that is the highest rate?
We didn't address the situation that he brought up. So can I?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so when he's talking about why do I care if a mother does that? Because that's the same thing as why do I care if someone kills my neighbor?
I understand that, but what I'm asking you is you don't want the government to force people to have insurance. You want to punish people who don't have insurance and can't afford it because somehow it's their mistake and they've been lazy for not getting insurance. But then yet you want to force women to not have abortions.
Okay, scratch. So back to the insurance. If I take my car out and I crash it into my neighbor's house, I have to pay for the damages to his house. That's my moral obligation.
Most people are crashing the car. Most people are crashing the cars in the house.
For me to do that via insurance. So that's my moral. That's my prerogative because it's better for me. There's still negative consequences to me crashing my car into things. I still have to pay for the damages.
I feel like you're just picking and choosing of what you want for something.
Let me, Esau. I want to ask a different question. So we were talking about adulthood, personhood, brain age. You said 24. I think I've heard 25 before.
Okay, 25.
But do you know which demographic has the highest abortion rate in the United States?
Yeah, they're generally was it 30 to 40 age range?
No, the highest abortion ratio of abortions to live births is women under the age of 15. So do you think that they're making great? Yes, women under the age of 15 have the highest abortion ratio, 817 abortions to 1,000 live births.
Wait. So under the age of 15, where are you getting that stat from?
What's up? CDC. CDC study 2013. They do not have the highest amount of abortions, but they have the highest abortion ratio.
Oh, okay, ratio.
Yes, which I've said that like.
Sorry.
But 817 to 1,000. Do you really think we should be pinning the mistakes of a 14-year-old on her for the next 20 years? I mean, you said they need to pay for their mistakes.
If a 14-year-old killed somebody, do they still get some kind of punishment for that murder?
Much less than if an adult does it, because we understand extenuating circumstances. We understand mental age. This is all kind of built into the legal framework. You want to separate legality from morality, but to be quite honest, they're very...
No, I don't want to separate them. I want legal to be based on morality, not morals to be based on legals, on the legal standing.
But like you gotta understand, these are not people. People are not having abortions who are like, oh yeah, man, I can't wait to like go out and have unprotected sex 17 times tomorrow, and I'm gonna go have an abortion on Saturday. People are not doing that. Do you know what percentage of people that are getting abortions are using condoms and/or birth control?
I looked it up earlier. I don't know it off the top of my head.
It's about 2/3. 2/3 of the people that are going in to get an abortion are using birth control or are using condoms. I mean,
Okay.
how many of these people are with single partners? Almost half. You need to understand this isn't like some Frankenstein's monster of people that you can just call deplorable. And
I'm not calling them deplorable.
I mean, you seemed really like angry a few minutes ago, and you're like, they need to pay for their actions. I mean,
no, people need to pay for all. You're responsible for all the actions you take in your life. And this to me is kind of the problem, is because abortion is legal, because we continually tell people that it's just a cluster of cells, that it's not really, that it's your body, your choice. Then they get it in their head that it's okay to continually do this. That even like, and you're saying, I was like, oh, well, they already have other kids, so they're not a morally bankrupt person. Well, they've been told their whole life that this is an acceptable behavior, in which case, what do they have to deter them from getting an abortion as opposed to carrying out the child? There is no longer the social stigma to it, or at least there's not the moral stigma there used to be, or the social stigma there used to be. What is the disincentive to get an abortion? That is my case here, is because it seems like it used to be that it was illegal, that it was considered close to murder, and it was only allowable in certain rare exceptions.
There you go. Sorry, guys. I had mic issues. Yeah, I'm back.
Okay. But the deterrent for that used to be society deemed this as morally bankrupt, and if you did this, you're a bad person, all that sort of thing. But if you look at other cultures that were not the same way as, you know, the United States and Britain, other cultures that were primitive, this type of behavior is commonplace. And that's what I think we're going back to the same way as tribalism. You know, where the wife was pregnant, or the woman was pregnant with who knows whose child. They would go to the witch doctor, they'd get some potion, they'd drink it, and then it would ensue in a miscarriage or some other way of doing that same act. And that is the primitive culture. It was primitive for people to go around sleeping with whoever they wanted. And it wasn't until civilized countries started saying, no, we should limit, you're not going to have sex until you're married. That was the foundation for the family. And if you compare the European and westernized countries compared to pretty much any other country or any other social group, we progressed much faster because we had those restrictions in place. We had that moral stigma in place. We were forcing people to, like, okay, there's all these negative consequences that go with just sleeping around or not controlling your actions, not controlling your body, not taking responsibility for yourself. If you just go around sleeping with whoever you want because your hormones are going crazy during puberty, there are negative consequences to that, and we're trying to curb those consequences. But other tribes that were less civilized, I have to say tribes because they never developed out of tribal situations, because they never enacted these kinds of policies. They never enacted that, oh, maybe we should show some control here. Some self-responsibility. And I know I'm sounding kind of like a preacher, and I promise not to bring religious into this and that sort of thing, but this is from an objective point, or at least hopefully it's objective, is that the way society progressed, the way mankind progressed the most was by enforcing moral obligations like this. where you only have sex with the person you're married to and one person. And occasionally there's situations where it's multiple partners, but for the most part, sex was restricted and society bloomed. I mean, you're talking about when life was less than 1 billion people on the planet, and we're now 7 billion plus. That is a huge, huge growth in population that would not be possible without the strict policies and strict social stigmas that were in place in Western culture.
So, do you think there's a correlation between how much value there is in society to how little abortion they are having?
No, I don't think so. I think the better barometer would be how much responsible sex they're having. I guess that's the better term for it. Is, are they considering themselves animals and just giving into their animal instincts and just doing whatever feels good or whatever seems right in the moment? Or are they delaying temporary gratuity for future benefits down the line? And I think
May I jump in? Well,
no, I want to ask a simple question, because I mean, it's you're kind of begging it here. So, do you think if abortion was illegal, people would have sex differently than they are now?
I would hope that would be the situation. Otherwise, they would force themselves into being in a position where, you know, they're either going to have a child that they don't want and can't afford, and they may have to give it away, or adoption and things like that, or they may try to do a back alley abortion.
Let me ask you this: do you want the state to control if people have sex or not?
What?
Do you want the state to control people who have sex or not? Like, because you're essentially saying that people are having too much sex, if I'm hearing wrong.
No, I mean,
well, it depends on how much sex is good for you. Are you okay with having enough sex where you can have 14 children? If that's okay for you, then that's
well.
Okay,
I mean, I use condoms, so I mean, condoms allow people to have as much as they want.
Well, except for when conception happens, even with those, like he just cited with the stats of people who are using contraceptive that still have children and then go get abortions.
Condoms break.
Stuff happens.
Yeah, and you normally have to deal with that. It seems like, in my perspective, abortion is a treatment of a symptom as opposed to a cure for a disease. That'd be like treating cancer by just dealing with the cough or whatever, or maybe doing surgery on the organs that are damaged, as opposed to trying to eliminate the source of the damage, which is the cancer. It's a Band-Aid on cancer.
So here's the thing, though. You're still not paying for your problems, right? I mean, this is what you want. I mean, because I find it funny, because this is one of those things that it seems like A plus B really is, it's really easy to see how it equals C, but people don't get it, especially kind of conservative Republicans, that they hate, these people who have like 17 kids and are, abusing the welfare system and all that stuff. But then on the flip side, these same people, I'm not saying you're bringing up this point, they're very much against abortion. Do they not understand that this X leads to Y in a certain thing? If you eliminate abortion, you are going to, I mean, think about it this way. You're going to double the amount of kids pretty much that are born every year in the U.S. Your welfare stats are going to explode. I mean, you're probably like, you're going to lead to probably the collapsing of the welfare society, and you're just kind of, it's almost like you're almost going to hit Mad Max at a certain point.
Well, because like I said, I'm an anarcho-capitalist. I want welfare to completely go away, because these are types of problems that come about, is we're encouraging bad behavior because of welfare. We are rewarding bad behavior while punishing good behavior, because guess who pays for the welfare system? It's not the people who are going out and having all this sex. I mean, people like me. Okay, I make 6 figures. I will make 6 figures this year. So my taxes are very high. I don't have any kids. I don't have any responsibilities I can't afford. I'm doing everything I can do because I'm trying to abide by my moral code. I don't want anyone else to be responsible for my bad decisions. I want to be the only one responsible or who deals with those. So by going by that moral code, I'm paying a lot in taxes. I earn a lot. I'm not taking on any extra benefits, but my taxes keep getting higher the more income I make. And that higher tax bracket goes to pay for the welfare system, which pays people who didn't make good decisions. It allows them to continually make poor decisions.
And that's why we allow them. That's why we understand all the nuance and the context of these moral arguments, and that's why we allow women to pay for their own abortions. The federal government doesn't pay for it. You don't pay for it. Your hard-earned tax dollars do not pay for abortion.
We don't pay any money to Planned Parenthood, and so it's not subsidizing abortion?
No, you're not subsidizing abortion.
In fact, so zero tax dollars go to Planned Parenthood, because if money went to Planned Parenthood, or if those tax dollars didn't go to Planned Parenthood would have to cover those costs of things, and then see yes. That's like saying
no. So first of all, Planned Parenthood doesn't even do the majority of abortions in the United States.
Sorry. Okay, but tax dollars do go to Planned Parenthood though.
Correct, because Planned Parenthood provides Medicaid support to the people. So yes, they are subsidized like any hospital that provides support to people under a certain poverty line.
Yeah. Planned Parenthood performs abortions, and tax dollars go to other organizations that do perform abortions.
Yes, but not to pay for abortions and not to subsidize abortions. I don't understand this one either. Yes, you can. You kind of have to, because there's laws that require you to.
No. They can say this money is only going to pay for these procedures, but the problem is, say I'm running a business and I'm selling cars, and I'm taking tax dollars in, but none of that tax dollars is going to purchase cars and purchase, everything I would need in order to sell cars. But the tax dollars are going to my computer systems. They're going to my mechanics. It's going to my stationery and all of my advertising. So it's not going to the sale of a car, but it's financing everything else I need to run my business. In which case, that's money that I can save from spending on these other things, and I can put it into buying cars specifically. So it's still subsidizing cars ultimately.
I don't think you know how Medicaid reimbursement works.
No, Planned Parenthood receives money from taxes, so it can use that money to finance other things that it can't. That it wouldn't. It would have to pay those fees without that extra tax money.
No, I'm saying I don't think you understand how Medicaid reimbursement works. So what'll happen is that a person will go in, right, and they're going to get an STD screening, right? And so that STD screening would normally be, let's say, $54 to end user. That gets written off, and then so what Planned Parenthood does is go around and they provide this as a receipt. We require $54 from Medicaid to cover this cost.
Okay.
So I'm saying it's not like Planned Parenthood, like it's not like the government is just like, hey, Planned Parenthood, here's like millions of dollars and there's no receipts for anything, and Planned Parenthood's like, oh, I'm gonna go buy all this stuff.
What does it matter if there's a receipt? I'm saying if I'm receiving money to pay for my rent, that means I've got more rent money to go out and buy alcohol. Now, is the money I'm receiving buying alcohol? That's not how it works. No, I'm saying that's not how it works. I'm saying I really don't think you understand how Medicaid reimbursement and how the federal government gives money to Planned Parenthood, how it works. Because it works the same as it does every single hospital. Because if Medicare wasn't paying for those things, they would have to charge more for those services. See how that cuts into the bottom line of the company's profitability?
No, because abortion is actually profitable to Planned Parenthood.
Yes, I understand that. But if the other things were not subsidized by Medicare, they would have to charge more for those.
So would you like, are you saying, so you would like Planned Parenthood to be...
That's not even basic economics.
Yeah, so I'm saying, would you like Planned Parenthood to be abortion only then?
No, I would like no abortions.
Because, I mean, if we make Planned Parenthood abortion only, then you're going to have more abortions. Instead, Planned Parenthood sits there and is able to give out birth control, give out, condoms, give STD screenings. If we eliminate that side of the house, they're just going to be a one-stop abortion shop, you're just going to have more abortions.
That's an illegitimate argument, because if you split it up into two different organizations and one was funded that offered no abortions, the number should remain the same. So if Planned Parenthood was okay, so if they split off, they had Planned Parenthood
pretty much
only does contraception, that only does everything else, and they've got Planned Parenthood B that offers the only abortions. You would not see an increase in abortions just because this specific Planned Parenthood facility or this company that is independent, that does not share finances or does not share profitability with any other industry. You wouldn't see an increase.
At the beginning, you definitely will, because of the number of hospitals and things like that are in low-income areas. Accessibility to healthcare is still an issue in America at large, especially in more impoverished areas.
Why would there suddenly be more Planned Parenthood facilities just because the finances are split?
No. I'm saying that if you stopped the Medicaid side of Planned Parenthood, so the STD screenings, the birth control, the condoms and stuff like that, due to locale and due to mobility of certain economically non-privileged people in these locales, they are not going to be able to go to the next county over to go to a hospital, to go, get birth control at this place, to get STD screenings at this place. So in effect, you are going to end up causing more abortions by trying to.
So I'm confused as to why the number of facilities would change. Because I'm saying you're splitting the money where this particular company.
No. So
its profits are completely independent of that other company.
They already do that through the use of accounting availability codes. That's what I'm saying. I really don't think you understand how Medicaid reimbursement works.
So you're saying Planned Parenthood could subsist entirely on doing everything but abortion, or Planned Parenthood could subsist entirely on doing just abortions, but they just put them both together.
Yes, absolutely. Because everything they're doing that's not abortions is being subsidized for the most part, unless you hit a certain income gap. But most people that are going to Planned Parenthood are of the lower income scale. But yes. So
and the model they're operating on is still profitable, which is bizarre to me, because it seems like Planned Parenthood gets the majority of their money from abortions. Because the other services have to compete with,
Well, some services by law can't be profitable. Some medical services, because of the ACA, cannot be profitable. So, like, you can't make money peddling birth control. You can't make money peddling this. I mean, that's just written into the ACA. Which
it shouldn't be, but I mean, if that's so, that seems like, because it's like the two wrongs make a right. That seems like
this is just the complexity of how this all works. Because the ACA now has a mandate to cover birth control. It has a mandate to cover STD screenings. And so when you go into a Planned Parenthood, and this is where I'm trying to get to you to explain it to you, if a service costs $104, Planned Parenthood is literally just a middleman between an accounting code in Washington and that end user right there.
So what it sounds like is you're eliminating all the ways that Planned Parenthood would be profitable without the abortion division.
Well, they're going to be profitable like any hospital, like any general hospital would be, because they're just like they'd be a normal health clinic that doesn't do abortions.
And that's profitable enough to stay in business and to have as many facilities as they currently do.
Yeah, we have a ton of health clinics across the country. Go into Apple Valley, California, if you ever are interested in seeing.
No, we're talking about Planned Parenthood specifically. I understand it's for those other organizations. Yes, those are medical facilities and all that sort of thing. So they wouldn't exist if they weren't profitable. But Planned Parenthood, you're saying that the abortion is it's icing on top. It's not necessary, but it helps.
Well, do I think abortion is necessary? Absolutely.
No.
I don't get what you're saying.
For Planned Parenthood to remain and have as many facilities as it does, that it would not be able to maintain all of its facilities, that it would be able to maintain all of its current facilities if abortion was illegal. It'd be able to maintain everything. But the extra abortion just allows them to be more profitable and open up new places or whatever.
I think it's like what? I think it's only about 40% of their facilities even do abortions. So, I mean, you're kind of hitting that. I mean, I don't understand what this has to do with.
I'm confused. So I'm still. It seems like you're countering the argument of if we split the two, that abortions would increase.
But I'm saying, why do we need to split the two physically? Like, why do we physically need to split? Your tax dollars are not paying for abortion. If you can go prove that Planned Parenthood or any of the health clinics that perform abortion are utilizing federally subsidized money for abortion,
No,
then you will.
they're indirectly doing that.
How so?
But because the money is going to subsidize all their other operations, so they can use that so they don't have to spend money on those things because it's already paid for, right? So all the things that they're offering for everything that's not abortion is now cheaper for them to either
but it's
serve
not.
or to the customer.
But it's
Yes,
not.
it is.
No. I'm saying, so like the federal government doesn't pay for Planned Parenthood's computers. They don't pay the work hours for people, right? This is what I'm saying. This is what you're not getting. It is very simply.
Those were examples, but yeah, whatever.
Oh, okay. Well, then what is the federal government paying for that is helping Planned Parenthood profit more off abortion than if the companies were split?
Okay, so you're saying that birth control was subsidized by the federal.
Yes.
Federal government does, and the price is capped. In which case,
yes,
there's a fixed cost that Planned Parenthood. Let's just use round numbers. So let's say each pill costs $100 for Planned Parenthood. The government subsidizes, I want to say half. I don't know if that's the actual number.
No, it's free. Birth control is free now under the ACA.
Okay, so the government subsidizes $100. So we're just assuming the price is $100. The government's paying $100. That means, so if Planned Parenthood pays $100, they get $100 back from the government. They were able to give that pill out, and it didn't cost them a dime. But if the government didn't subsidize that and they had to pay the $100, then in order to distribute that the birth control pill, it would cost Planned Parenthood $100, and that's $100 that they could not spend elsewhere.
Well, no, they would just charge the person $100.
Yeah, or they would charge the person $100, and then if the person wouldn't pay the $100, then they just would not have $100.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So how does the federal government subsidizing Medicaid through Planned Parenthood operations help facilitate profitability of abortion?
Okay, so the birth control was 100 and 100, so there's no amount of money that Planned Parenthood makes off of that.
No.
Okay. So is that the case for everything that Medicaid pays for in Planned Parenthood?
Pretty much, yes. Yes, for poor people. I mean, this is kind of why Planned Parenthood exists. Poor people.
For poor people. So Planned Parenthood doesn't make any money.
Yeah.
Maybe my argument here is deflated.
Yeah, so I mean, I can understand. It's easy, and because I mean, like, you want to be like, oh yeah, let's have two buildings like next to each other and have two different companies running them because it makes you feel easier in your head. And about 20 years ago, and even I think there was another one about 12 years ago, there were a couple facilities being found to be kind of lax in their accounting. This resulted in a pretty huge overhaul. That is, and the way that my volume okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The money is pretty much cut and dry. The federal government is not assisting Planned Parenthood to do abortions. If you were able to prove that, you would have a huge federal lawsuit on your hands that would honestly make it probably all the way up to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, and provided that there is a cap to how much Planned Parenthood can charge for its services, and that the government is paying that exact amount, then that means there's no profit for Planned Parenthood in those avenues. So there would be then Planned Parenthood's zero. It would be a zero sum for them, in which case then the government's not subsidizing the profitability of Planned Parenthood, which I was under the impression that they were subsidizing the profitability of Planned Parenthood. So I guess that was an incorrect assumption on my part. I was not aware that there was a cap on every service that the Medicare paid for.
Medicaid, but yes.
Yeah. Sorry, Medicaid. Sorry, that's the same thing. Medicare, Medicaid, whatever.
It's different pots of money. Hey, the tide comes in, the tide comes out. You can't explain that.
Dude, really?
All right. I really I think we can do a final, I think, 3 minutes on both sides. We had some agreements and we had some heated moments, but I think.
How you feeling, Timothy?
I'm feeling okay. I don't think I expressed myself correctly. I don't think I made enough good points, but no, whatever.
We will give you 3 minutes completely unabated, and you can have the final word, and you can go out with a
A
bang.
bang. Literally.
All right.
So just please, I won't interrupt you. Just please don't interrupt me. I would like to finish off by saying that I do not recognize the personhood of fetuses because of my definition, and the legal definition just so happens to coincide with my own morality in understanding that I don't think a fetus is self-aware. I don't think it should be comparable or have the same rights as a full-grown person. I prioritize all mannerisms of the mother over the life of the unborn child. And when we start to look at these statistics, I went through with a few of them, but we really start to understand who's having abortions. And we can understand that this talking points memo provided idea that it is all women who are just very laissez-faire with their sex lives or having abortions. Most of the time, it is poor, uneducated urbanites that are going to be living crappy lives already and most likely are making that decision. And 3/4 of them even say that this is why would interfere with work, school, or other social responsibilities. 3/4 of women who have abortions say that. So they understand that they're already in a bad predicament. Abortion helps them get out of that predicament. Abortion, and the other part of this number is 45% of people having abortions already have 1 to 2 children. So they understand what it's like to be a mother. They understand this is not all about themselves. This is about helping themselves and helping most of the time, 54% of the time, they're 1 to however many kids they have, because 9% have 3+ kids already. I don't know if I think I need to cover rape, incest, anything like that. I think that is an absolute given. And I conclude that with population being how it is, that abortion is a moral good, not only because it helps society stay intact, it gives autonomy to women. It allows women to succeed in a world governed by men a lot of the times. But in addition, we understand that abstinence doesn't work. We understand habits occur. We understand that people are sexual creatures. The simple fact that we were able to take 40,000 women dying between 1901 and 1963 and bring that down to 1% about of that in the last 40 years is already amazing. I do not think we need any laws changed on books. I think the laws are a result of morality in this case and our understanding of the ways that people go through life, and balancing a whole lot of areas of gray. And I think Roe v. Wade made a good decision, and that is the end of my time.
Okay. I was going to see if the moderator was going to say anything, but I guess it's my turn. So my rebuttal, and thank you for giving me the final word here, I guess, because this is the last 3 minutes. So my stance was, I guess, from the beginning is, first we have the right to life as human beings. So the right to life means that no one can end my life unless I give them permission to. And I would say that since that applies to all humans across the entire globe, then that should also, which includes infants up to adults, there is no age cutoff. So it should also be, so it shouldn't just start at 0, but it should also go back before the infant when it's in development, because an infant is still in development. So the only difference between an infant outside of the womb and a fetus inside of the womb is the size of that entity, or human being is what I would call it. They would call it a clump of cells. I would say the size, the amount of development that has gone through, the location, because it's inside the mother's womb as opposed to outside of it, and the dependency, the amount of dependency. Even outside of the womb, the infant is still dependent upon the mother. And I know this came up in Twitter, but we didn't get to it in here, which I was kind of sad about. But the mother is still dependent on its parents it needs an emotional, because I mean, there's cases where infants have been just bottle fed, but they still end up dying because they need an emotional attachment, which generally happens with a mother and child when there's breastfeeding and that sort of thing. So there's the nutritional amount that they need. They also need warmth and comfort and any emotional bonds, and because we are social creatures. So the amount of dependency is slightly increased after birth, but still the child is widely dependent upon the mother for a huge portion of its life, and even up to 18-year-olds. And I guess even beyond that, some people still live with their parents and being 30 and something like that. I don't. I've got my own house. But the amount of dependency upon the parent should not be a determination whether that individual has a right to life, because some people are mentally deficient or handicapped, and they will always be dependent upon their parents or their guardian. So that's a terrible any discrimination based on size, or any discrimination based on the level of development, or any discrimination based on where the human is, or the amount of dependency that individual, should not deny the right to life. So that was my case. I mentioned pretty much everything else I had to say. But my moral stance is we want to have the most amount of human life on the planet as possible. And there are, like he said, nearly 1 million abortions every year in the United States alone. That's not worldwide. That is in the U.S. The number I cited was 600,000 in the U.S. every year, at least. Sometimes it's been higher, sometimes it's been lower. That is a huge amount of the loss of human life that could have been anything else. And if you think about all the celebrities or whatever and things like that, a lot of scientific geniuses that were potentially going to be aborted, and the mother decided not to. That same thing is going on a mass scale in the United States alone.
All right. So, yeah, another stream happening at 10:45, y'all. So I'm going to end this one. Say goodbye, David.
Hey, thank you very much, Tim, for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for the platform. It's bigger than mine. So
it's all right, man. All right, guys. We'll see you at the other stream. I posted the link on Twitter. Link is in the stream somewhere. Yeah, deuces.